We hopped on the plane and we were pumped and ready to go. We had me, Leroy and Owie, and then, I don't know who was next, Elise. Oh, 4 of us were in the middle of the plane and someone decided to get a coffee, and within the first 30 seconds of hopping on the plane, someone had spilled that coffee and it had gone everywhere. So for the next 7 hours we got to smell coffee, which was just great. Got up the next morning, went to the toilet, done my business as you do. Tried to flush the toilet wasn't working, and it just didn't really happen as I thought. So I thought I'd just check the system cock to see if that been turned off. I didn't know if there's water restrictions or not or how it worked, but went to touch it and I kind of poked it and it just fell off the wall. I reckon their fittings are made out of plastic or something. I don't know, just dodge Bali gear.
And taught English lesson. Their English was quite good. We did some scenarios on if they're in hospital, what would they do, and if they went travelling, where would they go. Played some games with Hangman and, you know, their teachers had some authority and they would use canes if anyone would get out of trouble. They had a different way of teaching. They would memorise instead of problem solve. It was a really good experience.
On the 4th day, we had an opportunity to go and visit an orphanage in Kuta. I found out as soon as we walked in there was a little boy named Kunrik, and he was about 7 years old. He actually looked like he was 4 because he was found rummaging through bins trying to get food. He was basically just looking after himself because his parents could no longer look after him, and he was shown no love, no affection, and so he couldn't speak any form of language, couldn't speak Indonesian, Balinese, nothing. He basically spoke his own language, and it was just, as soon as we walked in, he just latched right onto Anthony and just wouldn't let him go and basically stayed with him the whole time that we were there with the visit. It was actually pretty confronting because it just makes you really realise how other children get treated overseas.
One of the highlights of the Bali awareness trip for me, and certainly one of the biggest days, was the Sunday. We just left the home church and we were on our way to visit some of the Bali 9 who wanted us to come in and visit them, and we were turning right into the car park, and the roads are just crazy in Bali, and a lady, probably a middle-aged lady on a scooter, just come up the side of us and hit the front of our car, and she skittled across the road, did a couple of somersaults and sort of landed in the gutter on the other side of the road, and we got into shock mode. We didn't really know what to expect. We thought possibly the worst, so we just ended up parking our car and checking if the lady was all right. Thankfully she had minimal injuries, and being up front of the prison there was a police there, so in the end they called the lady's husband, and we ended up having to bribe the police to be able to get away with it, even though it wasn't technically our fault. But yeah, that was certainly an interesting experience.
In the second week of our mission awareness trip, we went into 2 villages in Kuta in Lombok. We had fun. We played soccer and we played different games with the kids. We also sat down with the head of the village and had coffee with him, as it was custom. Ado and him talked in Indonesian. Unfortunately, he misinterpreted Ado to say that we had bought some medical supplies to set up a medical clinic permanently. When we had to correct him and say that we were just here for the day, the disappointment on his face was heartbreaking. There was one boy in particular who had a motorbike accident 3 weeks prior to us arriving there. He had a large wound on his left knee that was severely infected, bad enough here that he would be taken to theatre and have an operation. Over there he hadn't yet sought medical advice. Financially it's very difficult for them, and health doesn't seem to be a priority.
We just finished going to the second village, so we did some medical supplies and all that, and we'd been push starting the car all day because the battery was just stuffed. And then, anyway, me, Ada and Jezza and a couple of the other boys, Anthony and Justin, we were in the car ahead of Brad, and Brad, we've looked behind us and Brad's with all the girls and they're just gone somewhere back there. So we ended up reversing back and they're stuck on the side of the road. So me and the boys, we're sitting back in the middle of Lombok, the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of the night. There's no street lights, no nothing. We're all it's a little bit weird. Lucky we had Jezza there, he could translate for us. And then, so we're just talking, and then we ended up going, oh, we'll try and start the car again. So we started the car, it's just started, it's gone about 5 k's an hour. We've all hopped in, got to the end of the, got about 2 k's up the road, and we've gone, Anthony's yelled out, oh, where's Justin? And we'd been taking a Sasak person back to a village that was a little bit up the road, and he'd hopped in the car and we thought it was Justin. So we looked around and Justin's not in the car.
Is Justin with us? Oh my goodness.
We went up the road a little bit further, we got stuck in a village, lots of stuff happening, we got plenty of footage of it. But they had a pet monkey and just all crazy stuff like that. But yeah, they tried to marry us, and if you want to know more you can check the DVD. But yeah, we got back, and then the maintenance guy that fixed our car was the maintenance guy for the Kuta Inda, and they had a blackout, so he kind of got fired, but we paid him some money, so he was sweet with it. But yeah, that's it.
So as you can see, we had an awesome time on our Mission Awareness trip 2008 to Bali and Lombok. For me, it can't get any better than we were sitting on this beach in Lombok, and it was the afternoon, and there was this beautiful pristine beach where there was a reef break and there's this pure white sand and absolutely clean water. And we're sitting on the beach with about 40-50 kids from this one village, and we asked them all to come around and sit around us, and we brought an indigenous missionary with us who started to explain to them in Indo about Isa, who is Jesus, and how he actually was hanging out with people in a similar place, and there was nothing to feed them and they were all hungry, and a little boy offered them 2 fishes and 5 loaves, and they prayed for it and it multiplied, and everybody was fed. And I saw explained the beautifulness of the character of Isa to these kids on the beach, and then they acted it out in their own language, and seeing it play out was one of the most beautiful things. And then right at the end of acting out this story and drama with the kids, the lady who was there, who was explaining it to them, said, who wants to be like Isa? Who wants to be like Jesus? And so many of the kids stuck up their hand. And what I realised is this trip was about the same thing. If you want to be like Jesus, you need to understand and be aware of who God has created you to be and the wider plans that He's unfolding in this earth. And that's why we run awareness trips like this. And hopefully you can be a part of the next one.